Today's video is going to be a little different. I get asked a lot, Jake, can you go back in time and just take a video out, take a look at your takes and just give your thoughts on it? Maybe it's wrong, maybe it's right. Well, I'm going to be doing something similar to that. I'm going to be going over some of my notes. I did a video, my offensive thoughts during the bye. I also did defensive thoughts during the bye. This is going to be the offensive thoughts during the bye. Back when the Rams were 3-6, and I just want to give my thoughts on, whether I still believe in what I was saying then, or not. So before we get into it, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Follow me on social media at JKBogan, all social media, and check out my podcast, link in the description. All right, let's dive into it. So first thing I had, Matthew Stafford longevity. Okay, question mark. How long will he be in LA? Signed until 2027, age 39. Could he retire before then? This was a thought. This was a legitimate question I had. After he got hurt, I was wondering, how long is this going to last? Well, Stafford came out of the bye healthy and was able to absolutely tear it up. He was one of the best 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't know where in the 5 you would rank him, but one of the best 5 quarterbacks in the NFL coming off the bye. Currently, I believe he is going to stick around all the way through his contract and could sign another short-term deal if he wants to play until 40. I think he keeps himself in as good a shape as he can. I think he is an absolute baller, and I think he's gifted with just this ability, just arm talent that just not a lot of quarterbacks have. It's kind of the same thing that keeps Flacco going at age 39. So, I watched Joe Flacco this year do what he did. We all did at age 39. There's no reason why Stafford can't play until then. Now, the most important thing, will he retire to, be with his kids, be with his wife? That's the thing. But can he physically do it? I absolutely believe Stafford can play until he's 40. Absolutely. Number 2, if Stafford hangs it up in the near future, what is the plan? I had bullet points, draft a quarterback in the first or second 2024 draft. I got to tell you, I don't really like the quarterbacks in this draft. Of course, I haven't gone fully into it, so don't come with me with pitchforks and torches and all that. I haven't watched the quarterbacks yet, all of them. I've watched a few, but I don't love them. I don't love Bo Nix. I don't love JJ McCarthy. I really don't love any quarterback outside of Jaden Daniels. Even Caleb Williams gives me some concern. I don't know. I don't like this class. I feel like this is the class that everyone wanted it to be, like this generational class. I'm not seeing that, folks. So maybe I'm not knowing what I'm seeing, but also I haven't finished. So maybe I could find others as my draft evaluations go on. But draft a quarterback in the first or second round in 2024. I absolutely would not do that at all. I would not take Bo Nix. I would not take JJ McCarthy. I would not take any of those quarterbacks. No way, no how. Would not do it. The next thing was Carson Wentz question mark. If you watched the last quarterback video I did, 100% I would take Carson Wentz in an instant. If Carson Wentz signs a 2-year or 3-year deal with the Rams to be the backup quarterback, I would absolutely love that. But if Stafford were to just randomly hang it up, I would sign Carson Wentz to be the starting quarterback, and I would consider drafting a quarterback. But I don't like the quarterbacks in this class, not unless it's Jaden Daniels. And I like Caleb Williams. I like Drake May. I don't love any quarterback outside of Jaden Daniels. Okay. Trade for a young quarterback, question mark. Justin Fields, Kenny Pickett, Jordan Love. Jordan Love, since this happened, he's turned into an absolute superstar. He gave the Packers a run for their money, gave the 49ers a bit of a scare in the divisional round. Jordan Love ain't going anywhere. Kenny Pickett, however, lost his job. So, see, this is the fun thing about going back and looking at, the bye week thoughts. Justin Fields, I don't know if he's available. Again, this is if Stafford hung it up, which I don't think he's going to do anytime soon. Kenny Pickett, that's a fascinating thing. Kenny Pickett could be available this offseason, and I didn't expect that to be the case. I thought he'd be a nice, potential trade, but now it seems like he's completely lost his starting job. We'll see. Another bullet point, if he retired after the season, could Kirk Cousins be an option? I'll tell you this right now. I think if Stafford retired after the season, they'd be deciding between giving Carson Wentz the keys to the car, or they would give it to Kirk Cousins. I think that Kirk Cousins would want to play for Sean McVay. I absolutely would see that. But he's not retiring. I feel great about it. I didn't think he was retiring anyway. I was just a little concerned. The injuries, the hip injury, and he had the spine injury last year. I mean, you just worry about the guy. But I feel really good about him staying, around for a long time. Another one. Baker Mayfield reunion if Stafford retires this year. I don't think so. I think Baker Mayfield is going to be fine and dandy over in Tampa. I think he got himself another contract, and he should. I mean, he should be the quarterback they try to build around. You saw it. He's not the reason they lost against the Lions. You might have saw that interception at the end, and that was dumb. But that defense folded like a lawn chair, so Baker gave him a shot. So number 3 question here, who is part of the future? I got bullet point Kevin Dotson and bullet point Carson Wentz. Now, I feel like Kevin Dotson is going to be back. I'm more confident that Kevin Dotson will be a Ram than Carson Wentz. Even though it would cost more money for Kevin Dotson to stay a Ram, he's a starter. I believe they're going to go all out. They're going to give him the tag, maybe, but they'll bring him back. Carson Wentz, I'm kind of 50-50 on. Does he deserve to start in the NFL? You bet your ass he does. He absolutely should be a starter in the league, but I could see him not being a starter. If he's not a starter, this is the team, after every team gave up on him, this is the team that brought him in. So wouldn't be surprised if he gave them a little bit of a discount to come back as a backup. So I could see both. Obviously, I think Kevin Dotson, I give more of a 90%, maybe 80%. Carson Wentz, I'm giving about a 50-50. That's how I feel. Okay, number 4, left tackle is the biggest need. So bullet point, offense hasn't been the same since Whitworth retired. That it's funny because the offense got so good after the bye. Not immediately. That Seahawks game wasn't great, but they also didn't have Kyron Williams. So that's the funny thing. Again, going back and looking at this, offense hasn't been the same since Whitworth retired, and then all of a sudden offense looks honestly one of the best offenses we've seen under Sean McVay after the bye. Stafford hasn't been able to stay healthy since Whitworth retired. He was able to play almost every game this year, missed just one, and then obviously sat out the last game of the year. So Whitworth was never properly replaced. I agree with that. I like Alaric Jackson. And funny enough, I still think left tackle is a big need. And Alaric Jackson played well to end the season. So I still believe in this. Rams hope for Noteboom to do it, but perhaps the injuries have caught up to him and limited him. Yep, that's how I feel. I think the injuries have set Noteboom back. I think he's a solid 6th guy. He's not a starter, in my opinion, a good depth piece. Alaric Jackson is pretty damn good for a UDFA tackle, but he's not enough to start and give a consistent veil of protection at the blind side for Stafford. I think that's fair. I think Alaric's good enough to start maybe at guard, but at the same, he'd have to bulk up. I mean, he's only 283 pounds, but I really like Alaric. If they could, get a legitimate upgrade at left tackle, like I've talked about, I would do it. By the way, I'll also say this. I only like Tyron Smith really at tackle. Everyone else in the free agency, I'd take Alaric over. So I think it's really between him, a draft pick, and Tyron Smith. If they don't bring in Tyron Smith, that's the case. 3 great draft prospects: Joe Alt, Olu Fashanu, and Talis Fuaga. What's funny about this is that I believe there are multiple really good draft prospects, but I was talking about this at 3 and 6 when, look, I thought they'd turn it around. I really believed that. I felt good coming off the bye once they signed Carson Wentz and everything. What I wasn't going to do, though, is talk about draft prospects that were like typically not going to be available, or they were definitely going to be available and they were later on, because I was talking about specifically where they were in the draft order at this point in time. So when they were in the draft order, Alt, Fashanu, and of course, Fuaga all would have been there, in mock drafts. And I put Alt has given up 1 sack this year and 4 pressures. Fashanu has given up 0 sacks and 9 pressures. Fuaga has given up 0 sacks and 9 pressures. Fashanu will be 20 at the start of the rookie season. Alt will be 21 in February. Fuaga is first in run blocking per PFF. Alt is 8th in run blocking per PFF. And Fashanu is 48th in run blocking per PFF. So I had a bunch of notes, all of that. To wrap this thing up, should the Rams really consider going after an elite level offensive player next year with the increased cap? This is interesting because the left tackle, I still feel like is a big need, probably the biggest need on the offensive line. I do still feel like Kevin Dotson and Carson Wentz have a future with the Rams. Wentz is 50-50. If Stafford hangs it up, I no longer believe Stafford is going to even come close to hanging it up anytime soon. Matthew Stafford's longevity isn't a question for me. So now, question number 5, should the Rams really consider going after an elite level offensive player next year with the increased cap? The first thing I think of when I hear elite level is I'm thinking T. Higgins, I'm thinking of Saquon Barkley. So that's an interesting thing. But let's look at the bullet points at this point. And keep in mind, Kyren Williams had not played the last 3 games. So that's something to consider. Bullet point number 1, the Rams won a Super Bowl with 2 injured running backs in Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson, plus Sony Michel. But Todd Gurley was the engine of the Rams in 2017 to 2018 offense. And for a while after that, it took until 2021 for the offense to have that one very good year. But even still, it wasn't the same. Not sure what I was going with that, but I kind of understand. Rams went out for Christian McCaffrey. Could they do it again? Was that McVay admitting need? Now, obviously, I don't have them saying, yeah, the Rams are going to trade for Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey's a 49er. They wouldn't trade him. But was that McVay admitting need? That's an interesting one. Does Mike LaFleur push for a running back, considering how vital Breece Hall was to the Jets' offensive success last year before the injury? Is it even a running back? Is Kyren the go-to number 1 running back? Do they add another receiver? That's the thing. I felt really good about Kyren Williams. I was concerned about the injury, but I think at this point, the bye week thoughts, you haven't seen him in 3 weeks. You're like, do they make a push? This is right around, I believe, the trade deadline too. It was, so that's why. Then I had bullet point Josh Jacobs question mark, Saquon Barkley question mark, Tony Pollard question mark, Austin Eckler question mark, T. Higgins question mark, Calvin Ridley, Gabe Davis, Alvin Kamara trade. So interesting stuff here. I don't think the Rams feel like they need a running back. Now, they might find a backup running back. We might make a separate video on that because I think backup running back, you could find something. But as far as a starting running back, that is Kyren Williams. He's the second best running back in the National Football League. I will argue with anybody about that. What he provides is just so important to this team. He is the engine to the offense. But I think really what I was thinking is a matter of, do the Rams maybe look at him as a 2 at this point in time? Because he went off and just absolutely took off as a starting running back after the bye. But right around this time, he missed 3 games. He looked really good. And then there were times where he wasn't used in the Eagles game, wasn't used in the Bengals game, had a blow-up game against the Cardinals and got hurt. So, you question the durability there maybe. And so that's probably why I said that. But T. Higgins, that's something I could see this year. Now, we'll see, but Calvin Ridley, Gabe Davis, I don't know about that. I think T. Higgins makes sense. Alvin Kamara trade does not make sense. So looking at this, my takeaway is, I think during the bye week, I was thinking for the worst. I think when I made this video, my notes were really thinking about everything and purposely thinking about the worst things that could happen. Not saying they would, but just being ready for whatever. So I'm glad I made this, and I'm looking forward to making the defensive one. But yeah, interesting to kind of go back and see these notes. I feel that like how I felt most of the season. You need to bring back Carson Wentz. If not, you need a backup quarterback. You need a number 2 running back. As much as I like Ronnie Rivers, I want a guy that can do it all, including pass protect. He did have a nice pass pro rep in the playoffs, but you get my point. Wide receiver, I feel really good about. If you bring back DeMarcus, that's great. If you don't, Tutu Atwell's number 3, which I love. I'm a big fan of Atwell. I still like the idea of getting another receiver in there. Probably bringing back DeMarcus would make sense. The tight end position, though, which isn't being talked about in this because we wouldn't have known, is that Tyler Higbee tore his ACL. Okay, he tore it in the playoffs, so he is going to be on the PUP list. And of course, not long after this, Hunter Long comes back and then gets hurt. So there's only one healthy tight end that was on the 53-man roster, currently on their roster, and that is rookie 5th-round pick Davis Allen, who will be going in year 2. Will get probably a bigger workload, but we'll get into that in a separate video. There's free agents. We'll talk about the draft at some point, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, I think tight end is something I'm looking at. Left tackle, definitely. Didn't mention center here, but let's not pile on Alaric Jackson. I think he played pretty well. I think it's just a matter of it's such an important position. I want a premium player there. Center is a need. I think Coleman Shelton's a solid football player, but he shouldn't start. I think he gives them solid depth, but if you can move Steve Avila at center and get a guard like Cooper Beebe in the draft or something like that, I'd be all for that. If you just kept Avila at guard and you signed Lloyd Cushenberry or somebody like that at center, be all for that. But I think maybe putting too much of an emphasis on left tackle isn't really getting over the point that, yes, I think center is the biggest need based on the talent. I think left tackle based on the importance is a big need. I didn't really say anything about corners. Well, okay, I didn't talk about defense, obviously, in the offensive one. Bonehead move there. So, yeah, that was my thoughts on the offense. Keep in mind, at this point, the offense looked pretty bleak. They weren't really able to move the ball. There was no balance, and everything changed 2 weeks later. So that's kind of funny when you think about it. But, yeah, that's going to do it. Hope you guys enjoyed this trip down memory lane. I was just looking at my notes. Obviously, there are probably things I said differently on the actual video itself, but I keep my notes handy just because, I don't know, I think it's kind of cool to look back on. So hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll do more of this if you guys like this type of content. I'll definitely be doing the defensive one next, but I'll see you guys soon. Later, folks.
Start playing Pick'em or Weekly Fantasy for any sport today, Jake. Users will receive a 100% deposit match up to $100 if they use promo code OTE at sign up. Start playing Pick'em and Weekly Fantasy Football today with Underdog Fantasy.
Do you love talking about the Rams, the NFL, or just want to be a part of a community? Join my free Discord server today. We're over 800 members. We got 24/7 live chat, a level 3 boosted server, the ability to call into JE Live, playing online games with us on Kick streams, toggleable alerts for when I go live on YouTube or Kick so you don't miss a live stream, and exclusive giveaways. Click the link in the description, the comments section, or the link that comes up in the video to learn more and join today.